She believed it was only a business deal, yet he risked everything for her. Sarah Chen and James Parker faced betrayal and redemption. A secret from his past promised chaos and hope. What hidden truth drove him to make that sacrifice? Sarah Chen entered the boardroom with an air of unwavering authority, her reputation as the Ice Queen preceding every step. At 32, she assumed the role of CEO, yet few knew the secret that haunted her nights. Chen Technologies teetered on the brink of collapse while her father fought for his life in the hospital, his legacy imperiled by failing health and mounting medical bills. In that moment, Sarah concealed her inner turmoil beneath the hardened facade. Across the desk, James Parker regarded her with kind, piercing eyes. He offered a proposal that promised to rescue the company, though his gentle demeanor concealed a motive that stirred suspicion. "I can help you," he declared, voice steady and sincere. Sarah replied with a guarded tone, "I must protect what remains." Their 20-minute meeting was brief but charged with unspoken tension, a collision of two worlds that would soon unravel secrets and redefine loyalties. This encounter set the stage for a choice that nearly cost everything, leaving viewers to wonder what dark truth would emerge next. Sarah Chen sat at her desk when a single paper arrived that shattered her world. The report was unexpected, and its contents revealed a fatal flaw in the company flagship product. Her eyes scanned the test results, and each word struck her like a bolt of lightning. The document confirmed that a critical error had been overlooked, endangering thousands of lives and threatening millions in potential losses. Her hands trembled as she contemplated the disastrous implications. The report carried the weight of betrayal and the burden of responsibility that had haunted her career. In a determined tone, she said, "We must review every detail immediately. No signature shall be given until we secure the safety of our customers and the integrity of our work." Her chief engineer, Mark, replied, "This revelation exposes our vulnerability. We have ignored a danger that now stands before us. We must take swift and decisive action." Every second that passed increased the risk of irreparable damage. Sarah recalled the promises made to her team and the trust that had been placed in her leadership. The report was not merely a document. It was a turning point that forced her to confront the manipulation and greed that had crept into the heart of the enterprise. It exposed the secret failure that threatened to undo years of hard work and devotion. With a heavy heart and unwavering resolve, Sarah recognized that her next move would determine the fate of the company and countless lives. In that moment, the weight of the decision pressed upon her. She knew that one signature could either avert disaster or confirm the collapse of everything she had built. The choice before her was the choice that nearly cost everything, and it demanded courage, honesty, and a determination to restore hope. During the board meeting, every gesture became a calculated move in a dance of lies. Each smile hid fear and each nod concealed doubt, as if the room were filled with hidden secrets waiting to be revealed. James Parker sat quietly at the far end of the table, his eyes piercing through the practiced calm of his colleagues and Sarah Chen. His silent observation questioned every friendly gesture and every carefully rehearsed statement. Sarah Chen presented the quarterly report with precision, her voice steady yet betraying a subtle tremor of uncertainty. "We must take bold actions," she declared with firm determination. Beneath her composed exterior, she battled the weight of unspoken truths and a deep fear of failure. Across the table, influential board members exchanged guarded glances, each masking their own anxiety and ambition. Their smiles served as thin veils over inner turmoil, while the room simmered with tension and the threat of betrayal. James Parker interjected, "Our future depends on transparency and decisive leadership." His words resonated with hope and concealed a hidden agenda known only to him. Sarah replied, "We are not immune to the consequences of our actions." Their dialogue was sharp and measured, yet every sentence carried the burden of enormous stakes. Unbeknownst to the others, James had uncovered a secret that threatened to unravel the fragile unity of the board. His eyes revealed knowledge and resolve, hinting at an impending change that could alter everything. The atmosphere grew charged as power shifted silently among the members. Every decision promised to reshape destinies and expose vulnerabilities hidden behind polished facades. The meeting ended without clear resolution, leaving unanswered questions that would haunt every participant. The masks of power remained firmly in place, even as subtle cracks began to appear in the facades of loyalty and trust. Sarah sat in her father's hospital room, where the steady beeping of machines marked each passing second. The soft hum of the monitors filled the quiet space with an air of solemn urgency. Her father, weak and determined, struggled to speak his final words. In a low and trembling voice, he said, "Protect our legacy. Guard the future of our company with all your heart." Those words resonated deeply within Sarah, echoing like a sacred vow and a burden too heavy to bear. She listened intently as every beep of the machine reminded her of time slipping away. Her heart ached with both love and fear as she asked, "At what cost will this legacy be preserved?" His eyes, filled with wisdom and sorrow, met hers. "There are sacrifices that must be made," he replied softly. "The truth of our work lies in every difficult decision. You must have the courage to face them, even when darkness surrounds you." The machines continued their relentless countdown, each sound intensifying the pressure of an imminent decision she was not ready to make. Memories of hard-fought battles, betrayals, and moments of triumph surged through her mind. In that fragile moment, the secret her father had kept was revealed, transforming her grief into determination. She vowed to honor his last request with unwavering resolve. Though fear and uncertainty tugged at her, hope and resilience emerged from deep within. Sarah promised herself that his legacy would endure and that she would rise to the challenge no matter the cost. In that hospital room, under the steady rhythm of beeping machines, her destiny was reshaped by a final heartfelt plea. Her promise echoed in the silent corridors of the hospital, igniting a fierce determination to overcome every obstacle and fulfill her father's dying wish beyond measure. Global Tech's hostile takeover threat arrived in a black envelope. Sarah Chen received the envelope on a cold morning when doubts had already begun to form. The envelope was unassuming yet carried a storm of consequences. Inside, she discovered documents that confirmed a rapid plan for a corporate coup. Her eyes widened as she recognized the signature of the CEO, the same signature that belonged to her former mentor, now transformed into her greatest enemy. The betrayal stung like a fresh wound. In a measured tone, she whispered, "You were my guide once, and now you become my adversary." The timing was no accident. Every detail pointed to a deliberate act meant to unsettle her and weaken her resolve. "Someone has leaked the truth," she declared with firm conviction, aware that powerful forces were orchestrating this scheme. Meanwhile, board members of Global Tech gathered in secret meetings, their voices filled with ambition and trepidation. One executive stated, "We must secure our position before chaos consumes us." The air was heavy with uncertainty and fear of the unknown, as hidden agendas and toxic loyalties played out behind closed doors. Determined to confront the looming threat, Sarah assembled her most trusted allies. "We must protect our legacy and our people," she pronounced, her voice resolute and unwavering. In that moment, every word carried the weight of 1,000 sacrifices and the promise of redemption. The hostile takeover was only the beginning. The real battle lay in exposing the treachery and reclaiming the honor of the company. As the black envelope ignited a spark of rebellion, the stage was set for a conflict that would forever alter the fate of Global Tech and everyone who dared to stand for truth. Each heartbeat echoed with the promise of justice and determination to overcome odds. Sarah Chen sat in the quiet of her office, confronted by a decision that would determine the fate of the company and her family legacy. 2 documents lay before her on the polished desk, each carrying a weight of consequence. One document promised to save the company and secure its future, yet it carried the risk of endangering countless lives. The other document threatened to destroy her family's legacy, but it would protect the customers who depended on their products. Numbers do not lie, but people do, and the cold facts stared at her unblinking. Her heart pounded as she weighed the outcomes, knowing that every choice came with a terrible price. In a hushed tone, she murmured, "There is no perfect solution, Each option demands sacrifice. The pressure was immense as the ticking clock reminded her that time was running out. Outside the confines of her office, James Parker and his investigation team had already begun to dig into every detail, seeking the truth behind the unfolding crisis. Sarah recalled past betrayals and the scars they left behind. The memories of manipulation and greed haunted her, making this decision even more painful. She thought of the people whose lives could be at risk if she chose to save the company at any cost, and of the honor that would be lost if her family legacy crumbled. Determination mixed with despair as she reached for a pen, ready to sign the document that would change everything. Her voice was steady yet filled with sorrow when she declared, "I must choose between two evils. I will not let fear rule my judgment." In that moment, Sarah understood that true leadership required accepting harsh truths and making decisions that would echo for generations. Her decision promised change, hope, and a lasting legacy. Security footage revealed a familiar face entering the testing lab at midnight. Sarah felt her heart race as she realized that her trusted advisor had violated everything she had believed. The silent recordings showed him slipping into the lab with a purposeful stride, his eyes scanning for unseen threats. Later, when the altered safety reports came to light, the betrayal cut deep into her soul. She had placed her faith in him, and now that trust was shattered like glass on cold concrete. James Parker, always vigilant, had not been the only one gathering evidence. Anonymous tips and hidden documents began to surface, revealing a network of deceit and manipulation. In a hushed conversation, he told Sarah, "The truth is emerging, and every lie you once trusted now dissolves in the light." His voice trembled with both sorrow and determination, urging her to confront the darkness that had crept into their organization. Sarah recalled the moments when she had believed in loyalty and honor, now replaced by fear and suspicion. She realized that even those closest to her could conceal dangerous secrets. With a steely resolve, she vowed to uncover every hidden truth. The evidence promised to expose not only the altered reports, but a trail of greed and betrayal that reached far beyond the testing lab. In that moment, Sarah understood that the fight for justice was just beginning. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but she would not allow deception to destroy the legacy she had built. 3 hours before the merger announcement, Sarah found James in her office. The files spread across her desk revealed that he knew every secret. Her heart pounded as she confronted him. "James, what have you done?" she demanded. James met her gaze with solemn eyes. "I had to expose the truth," he replied. The documents contained evidence of misdeeds that threatened to destroy her world or save the company. Sarah felt the weight of every decision pressing on her soul. Each paper testified to betrayal and manipulation that had long been hidden behind polished facades. Silence filled the room as her rapid breathing echoed softly. "I trusted you with our legacy," Sarah whispered, her voice heavy with sorrow and resolve. James answered quietly, "I did not wish to destroy what we built. I sought to save it by revealing the darkness behind our success." The files detailed actions that endangered lives and corrupted trust, leaving no room for doubt. In that critical moment, Sarah recognized the point of no return. Her next decision would echo for generations. With steady resolve, she declared, "I will confront this betrayal and reclaim our future." The promise of redemption mingled with the painful hope that truth would prevail. Her world balanced on a knife edge, and the choice was hers alone. In that instant, everything she cherished hung in the balance, awaiting her final fateful decision. Her resolve hardened as the clock ticked relentlessly, marking the decisive moment when destiny would be irrevocably rewritten. Sarah felt the weight of the moment as the elevator halted abruptly between floors. The sudden jolt disrupted her thoughts and sent a shiver down her spine. James turned to her with a grave expression, holding up the defect report that lay open in his hand. "We need to talk," he said in a firm, low voice. In that instant, Sarah's world froze. The report contained damning details, each number a silent testimony to failure and betrayal. Questions raced through her mind. How much did James know? Why was he not using this information to destroy her, as others expected? Instead, his eyes revealed a mix of regret and determination, hinting at a secret burden he carried. "I have reviewed every line, every figure," James continued, his tone heavy with sorrow. "The data exposes flaws that endanger lives and undermine everything we have built together." Sarah's heart pounded as she absorbed his words. The truth, hidden behind layers of deceit, burned fiercely in that confined space. Trust, once unshakable, now trembled on the edge of collapse. "We cannot ignore this," she whispered, her voice wavering yet resolute. "We must face it, no matter the cost." James nodded slowly. "The truth is our only chance for redemption," he stated, his voice steady despite the tension. In that suspended moment, between life and legacy, Sarah realized that sometimes the burning truth is the only light in a world overshadowed by lies. Her resolve ignited a spark of hope and unwavering courage tonight. 8-year-old Sarah sat in her father's office, watching him turn down a $1 million deal. "Money comes and goes, but trust stays forever," he declared with quiet conviction. His words echoed in the silent room, planting a seed of wisdom in her young heart. In that moment, she understood that genuine value transcends wealth. Now, 24 years later, those words haunted her dreams and guided her every decision. Sarah remembered the determined look in her father's eyes as he chose integrity over riches. The memory burned like a beacon of hope amid dark times. She recalled the courage it took to reject greed when so many tempted him with easy gains. "Trust is the foundation of success," he had said, his voice firm and gentle. That lesson had sustained her through betrayal, manipulation, and heartache over the years. In the midst of corporate battles and ruthless ambition, Sarah clung to her father's wisdom. When faced with decisions that could compromise her values, she would remember his simple truth. It reminded her that even in a world driven by power and profit, trust remains the most enduring currency. Now, as she navigated the challenges of her own leadership, those words lit her path forward. They urged her to act with honor and to hold fast to the ideals that built her family legacy. Her father's legacy lived on in every choice she made, inspiring her to rise above adversity and embrace a future founded on unwavering trust and integrity. His words endured. James pulled out a worn photograph, a woman's smile frozen in time. His hand trembled as he held the faded image, a relic of innocence. "My mother trusted a company that chose profits over safety," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. The statement revealed the deep wound hidden behind years of success. They promised care and protection, yet they sacrificed lives for profit. He continued, his tone heavy with regret. The photograph was not merely paper and ink, it was a reminder of betrayal and broken dreams. Every line on her face echoed a promise shattered by greed. "I have carried this pain for so long," James admitted softly, his eyes fixed on the image as if seeking solace. In that moment, the armor he had built over years of ambition began to crumble. The memory of his mother, radiant and trusting, contrasted painfully with the harsh reality of corporate deception. Her trust had broken his shield, leaving him vulnerable and determined to expose the truth. He vowed to honor her legacy by fighting for justice and protecting those betrayed. The worn photograph ignited a fire within him, a call to redeem the past and reshape the future. Sarah's fingers traced the safety reports as her eyes scanned each line with newfound vulnerability. Each number held a life in balance, a testament to both achievement and failure. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of being more than just the Ice Queen. She felt the burden of compassion and responsibility. "These figures represent more than profit margins," she whispered, her voice trembling with quiet resolve. James stood nearby, his gaze piercing through her carefully crafted mask. He recognized the pain behind her stoic exterior, the hidden conflict that had defined her decisions. "I see the real you, Sarah," he murmured softly, his tone filled with urgency. "You carry not only our legacy of success, but also the sorrow of lives lost." Her heart pounded as she absorbed his words, each report a reminder of choices made and lives affected. In that moment, the walls of her empire began to crumble, revealing a vulnerability that promised both downfall and redemption. "We must act with strength and mercy," she declared, her voice firm. The truth of those numbers ignited a spark of hope amid betrayal and hardship, a beacon for a future built on trust and care. James presented his proposal with resolve, his voice firm despite the impossibility of his plan. He declared, "I intend to save both companies while protecting every life at stake." His eyes bore into Sarah's, pleading for trust amid chaos. Sarah, known as the Ice Queen, had spent years guarding her heart behind a fortress of power and betrayal. Now, faced with an unexpected alliance, she searched for traps and deceit. Yet, in James's gaze, she discovered only sincerity and determination. "Do you truly believe our enemies can become allies?" she asked, her tone edged with caution. "I believe unity can overcome even the darkest treachery," James replied, his words resonating with hope and conviction. His plan was risky, fraught with uncertainty and peril, but it offered a chance to rewrite their shared destiny. In that moment, the walls around Sarah began to crumble. The Ice Queen wondered if she could risk trusting again, if she could lower her guard for the sake of a greater good. With a deep breath, she nodded slowly, accepting the fragile promise of redemption and alliance. Together, they stepped forward into a future, united by desire to protect what remained of their honor and hope. Late in the night, Sarah and her team gathered for a strategy session that went beyond business. As they pored over plans and projections, quiet moments emerged that revealed hidden truths. In hushed tones, one colleague shared a story of personal loss, while another recalled the power of compassion during hard times. Sarah listened intently, her mind shifting from numbers to emotions. "We are not only built on profit, but on the trust and care we share," she said softly. Her voice, usually firm and unyielding, trembled with unexpected warmth. Across the table, a trusted advisor nodded in agreement. He added, "Sometimes our greatest strength lies in our vulnerability." The room fell silent as each person reflected on battles fought and lessons learned. In that rare moment of openness, the Ice Queen discovered a strength that was not measured by wealth or power. It was a strength born of empathy, sacrifice, and hope. That night, amidst whispered confessions and shared dreams, Sarah realized that true leadership comes from the heart. The alliance forged in those tender moments promised to guide them toward a future defined not by profit, but by purpose and redemption. Their hearts united, forging an unbreakable future. Breaking news flashed across every screen in the office. In a single moment, the fate of Chen Technologies hung in the balance. Global Tech's CEO stood at the podium, his voice resonating with authority and disbelief as he revealed a fatal flaw in Chen Technologies' flagship product. "Today, we confront a crisis that shakes the very foundation of our trust and integrity," he announced solemnly. Sarah, whose family had built the company from the ground up, watched in horror as decades of dedication crumbled before her eyes. Each word from the CEO struck her like a hammer, shattering illusions of invincibility and hope. Her mind raced with memories of hard-won victories, sacrifices made in the name of progress, and the promise of a legacy her father had vowed to protect. "This is not merely an error, it is a betrayal of everything we stand for," she thought, feeling the cold sting of regret and despair. The room buzzed with shocked murmurs as colleagues exchanged glances filled with uncertainty and fear. In that heart-wrenching moment, the weight of accountability descended upon her. Determination mingled with sorrow, and despite the devastation, Sarah resolved to seek redemption. She vowed to uncover the truth behind the flaw and restore the honor of her family's name. What had begun as a normal day had transformed in seconds into the moment that would forever redefine her destiny, marking the day everything fell apart. It was a day of irreversible change, a day of loss and awakening. The stock price plummeted like a stone, and panic swept through the office. Investors fled in a frenzy, and board members shouted for answers, their voices trembling with fear and disbelief. In the midst of this chaos, Sarah stood rooted in shock, watching her world crumble before her eyes. Every number on the screen represented a life in peril and a legacy in jeopardy. As the turmoil grew louder, Sarah caught sight of James across the room. His eyes were locked on her, not with a sense of triumph, but with unwavering determination. "Sarah," he said softly, stepping forward as if drawn by fate, "we must face this crisis together." His tone was calm, yet carried the weight of a secret plan that could turn despair into hope. Sarah's heart pounded as she searched his face for betrayal, for traps set against her. Instead, she found only sincerity and resolve. "I have seen these numbers turn to dust before," she replied, her voice steadying with new strength. "This may be our darkest hour, but it is also a chance to rebuild and redefine our legacy." In that fleeting moment, as chaos reigned and numbers fell like dust, both Sarah and James understood that true power lies not in profit, but in the courage to rise from ruin and reclaim what matters most. The unfolding disaster was not just a financial collapse, it was a turning point that demanded accountability, unity, and the will to rebuild from the ashes with courage. James Parker stepped up to the podium as silence engulfed the press conference room. His voice, so heavy with burden, carried the weight of a sacrifice. The defect originated in Parker Industries components. He announced, his words reverberating through the stunned silence. For a fleeting moment, time itself seemed to pause as every eye in the room locked on him, searching for hints of deception and truth. Sarah Chen, the determined leader of Chen Technologies, felt a surge of conflicting emotions. She understood that this revelation was the turning point that could save her company from ruin. Behind her confident facade of success lay a desperate need for redemption and survival. This lie, though built on falsehood, was the only lifeline capable of pulling her company back from the brink of collapse. James continued, his voice cracking under the weight of his confession. "I did this to protect what we have built, even if it means losing everything I hold dear." Those words cut through the silence, stirring memories of past sacrifices and unspoken regrets. Every investor, board member, and employee felt the gravity of that moment. The truth, twisted by necessity, became a double-edged sword. It would not only save Chen Technologies, but also shatter everything James Parker had ever built. In his eyes, there was a haunting mix of determination and sorrow. He knew that the lie he had told would cost him dearly: his reputation, his power, and the empire he had forged over years of hard work. As the press conference ended, the room remained motionless, caught between the relief of a temporary rescue and the looming dread of what was to come. In that silent aftermath, everyone realized that sometimes the greatest sacrifice is the one that no one ever sees coming. It endures. James Parker had made a decision that would change everything. The stock price of this company crashed harder than that of Chen Technologies, sending shockwaves through the financial world. Board members screamed for accountability and demanded retribution. "We must hold someone responsible," one member shouted, his voice trembling with anger. In the midst of the chaos, James stood unmoved, his eyes cold and resolute. He had taken a stand, using his own reputation as a shield to protect Sarah Chen's company. Sarah, known as the Ice Queen, had long maintained a facade of power and invulnerability. Yet in that moment, she felt something inside her melt. The sight of James bearing the full brunt of the backlash stirred a deep and unexpected emotion within her. "Your sacrifice is beyond measure," she whispered, her voice choked with both gratitude and sorrow. James replied softly, "I did not choose this path lightly. I chose to protect the lives at stake and the legacy we both share." Every investor, every employee, and every board member felt the tremors of that sacrifice. The lie that had been told to save Chen Technologies had cost James everything he had built, yet it secured the future of her company. As the media began to report the dramatic turn of events, questions arose about the true price of protection and redemption. In that pressurized moment, Sarah understood that leadership demanded more than power. It demanded the courage to sacrifice and the strength to protect others at any cost. With resolve hardening in her heart, she vowed to honor James's sacrifice and rebuild with honesty and resilience. The price of protection was steep, but in that price lay the seeds of a future defined by trust, integrity, and hope. Their noble sacrifice paved the path toward renewed hope. In her father's hospital room, the television blared news of turmoil. Sarah sat quietly, her eyes fixed on the screen where James Parker stood before a throng of angry shareholders. Their voices rose in anger and disbelief, accusing him of deception and betrayal. In that heavy silence, Sarah felt memories stirring within her heart. Her thoughts returned to a distant past when she was a child, sitting in her father's office, listening to his gentle wisdom. He had once said, "True strength is not in what you take, but in what you are willing to give up." Those words, spoken with resolve, had become a guiding light in her life, a lesson etched into her soul. Now, in the light of the hospital room, as the weight of responsibility and regret pressed upon her, Sarah recalled that cherished lesson. She understood that every sacrifice, every act of letting go, held the power to forge a brighter future. The harsh accusations against James contrasted sharply with the determination he displayed. His willingness to risk everything for a greater cause resonated deeply within her. "You must be willing to give up your pride to protect what truly matters," her father's voice echoed in her memory. In that moment, Sarah realized that true leadership demanded sacrifice over selfish gain. With sorrow and resolve intermingling in her heart, she vowed to honor her father's legacy. The echoes of the past reshaped her destiny, inspiring her to build a future on sacrifice, compassion, and strength. Security cameras captured their moment alone in the corridor. Sarah stood facing James, her eyes blazing with hurt and confusion. In that tense silence, her voice broke through the stillness. "Why?" she demanded, her tone echoing with pain and desperation for understanding. James took a slow, deliberate breath, his gaze unwavering despite the storm of emotions around them. "Because some things matter more than money," he replied, his voice steady and resolute. His words, simple yet profound, sliced through the tension, revealing a vulnerability beneath his hardened exterior. The confession stirred a silent revelation between them, a truth that transcended the usual battles of profit and power. Sarah felt her defenses begin to crumble as she searched his eyes for deception. Instead, she found sincerity and a depth of conviction that challenged everything she had known. "You risked everything for ideals?" she asked, her voice softening as doubt mixed with a spark of hope. James nodded slowly. "I have sacrificed much to protect what is truly important. Money may build empires, but it cannot secure the future of those we love." His statement resonated deeply, stirring memories of past losses and the weight of his own sacrifices. In that charged moment, the corridor became a crucible where ambition, betrayal, and redemption converged. Their shared silence spoke volumes as the truth behind his eyes illuminated a path beyond wealth and betrayal, a path defined by sacrifice, honor, and a commitment to values that outlast all material gain. The board demanded James Parker's resignation. His eyes, heavy with regret and quiet defiance, told a story of sacrifice and loss. As he turned to leave, every step he took echoed the weight of decisions made in solitude. In that charged moment, the murmurs of the board faded into a dull roar, leaving only the silence of a broken trust. Sarah Chen, long known as the Ice Queen for her unyielding demeanor, stood rooted in the midst of chaos. For years, she had concealed her vulnerability behind a mask of icy resolve. But now, faced with the stark reality of betrayal and consequence, she made a choice that would rewrite both their stories. "I refuse to let fear define our future," she whispered, her voice trembling yet determined. As James paused at the threshold, Sarah's words cut through the tension. In that instant, the mask she had worn so long began to shatter, revealing a heart brimming with compassion and raw honesty. Her eyes, once cold and calculating, now shone with unexpected warmth and the promise of redemption. "I will not abandon what we have built," she declared, stepping forward with newfound courage. Her decision was not merely a personal stand. It was an act of defiance against the system that had forsaken them both. In that moment, the final wall of her guarded heart crumbled, and a path to reconciliation and renewal emerged. a future where sacrifice and truth would forge a legacy of hope and lasting change. Sarah found James in his empty office, quietly packing his belongings. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside. "Why destroy everything you built?" she demanded, her voice trembling with disbelief. James paused, his eyes filled with a sorrow that cut deeper than any failure. "I did it to protect what truly matters," he replied, his tone steady yet laden with regret. In that moment, the air grew heavy with unspoken truths and shattered dreams. Sarah stared at him, her mind racing. All the years of trust, betrayal, and sacrifice collided into one crushing question. Protect? How can you say that when you have sacrificed your legacy? She asked, struggling to comprehend his choice. James slowly lowered his gaze. "Sometimes, to preserve the future, one must let go of the past," he murmured, each word dripping with painful honesty. Her eyes widened as a new understanding began to dawn. The man before her was not the cold, ruthless leader she once admired. He was someone who had chosen a path of redemption at the ultimate cost. The truth behind his actions shattered the image she had of him forever. In that silent moment, Sarah felt something within her shift, a mingling of admiration, sorrow, and hope. The final truth of his sacrifice redefined their bond and her own destiny, forever altering the way she perceived strength, love, and the price of protection. Her heart, once guarded by ice, now burned with the warmth of forgiveness and commitment to future built on sacrifice. James pulled out an old newspaper clipping, its worn edges and faded ink telling a story of sacrifice and quiet revolution. He held it carefully as his eyes met Sarah's. "Your father spent 20 years funding safety research anonymously," he said, his voice steady yet filled with reverence. "He taught me that true business is not about money, it is about lives." Sarah leaned in, absorbing every word as memories of her father surfaced like gentle echoes from the past. She recalled his unwavering commitment to protecting people, his belief that every decision should honor human life above profit. "I never realized how much he cared," she murmured, her tone soft with regret and wonder. James continued. He saw beyond the balance sheets and stock prices. In his quiet way, he built a legacy of care and responsibility that transcended ordinary commerce. His eyes shone with both sadness and determination, a reflection of the man who had influenced him so deeply. Sarah felt the weight of this revelation settle over her like a mantle of truth. "I understand now," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of sorrow and newfound respect. "Our world has been driven by greed and numbers for too long, but your father showed us another way." In that poignant moment, the clutter of corporate battles and endless negotiations faded away. The clipping served as a beacon, a reminder that business at its core was about saving lives and making sacrifices. Sarah resolved then to honor her father's hidden light and to let that legacy guide her future decisions, reshaping her world with compassion and integrity. Sarah Chen and James Parker had once been fierce rivals, locked in a battle of ambition and pride. Today, their destinies converged into one shared mission. The new safety protocol bore both of their names, a testament to their unity and commitment to protecting lives over profits. During a quiet meeting, Sarah spoke with measured resolve. "We have a choice to redefine our future. Let us transform our past conflicts into a legacy of care and innovation." James nodded, his eyes reflecting the weight of his own sacrifices. "I believe that true strength is not found in power alone, but in our willingness to learn from our mistakes and stand together." Their collaboration turned enmity into partnership. They scrutinized every detail of the protocol, reimagining guidelines that once divided them. With every revision, the protocol grew stronger, echoing the values both had secretly cherished. In that process, Sarah, once known as the Ice Queen for her unyielding exterior, felt a warmth awaken within her. She discovered that the fire of compassion and trust was more potent than the cold drive for power. In that transformative moment, two hearts aligned with one vision. Their new safety protocol not only promised to save lives and rebuild shattered trust, but also symbolized a future where rivals became allies and weaknesses were turned into strengths. Their shared commitment would inspire a legacy defined by empathy, resilience, and the courage to put humanity before wealth. Investors watched in awe as Sarah rebuilt both companies stronger than before. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. Once known solely for her relentless focus on profits, Sarah had discovered a new measure of success, one that counted lives improved and communities empowered. Board meetings buzzed with enthusiasm as she introduced innovative safety protocols and sustainable practices that redefined industry standards. "Our true wealth is measured by the impact we have on people," she declared confidently, her voice steady and resolute. Employees embraced the changes with passion and commitment. Former adversaries turned collaborators, uniting under a shared goal of rebuilding trust and fostering progress. Financial analysts marveled at the turnaround, noting that the revival of the companies was driven not by mere numbers but by tangible improvements in safety and quality of life. Sarah personally visited communities affected by past shortcomings, listening to stories of hardship and hope. Each testimony fueled her determination to create a better future. Her efforts silenced critics and reshaped the market, proving that compassion and innovation can coexist with profitability. In that new era, every decision was guided by a deep commitment to social responsibility and human dignity. Every success story became a beacon of hope, inspiring change and uplifting lives. As the companies flourished, Sarah's legacy evolved from relentless ambition to care and redemption. Investors, once skeptical, now celebrated the rebirth of a business empire that placed human life above all. Rising from the ashes, Sarah had forged a future of hope and transformation. Her father's proud smile lit up the hospital room, radiating warmth that cut through years of hardship. His eyes, gleaming with both wisdom and joy, met Sarah's with quiet intensity. In a soft, trembling voice, he said, "You have built something greater than I ever dreamed." Those words echoed in Sarah's heart, stirring memories of struggles, betrayals, and relentless pursuit of success that had once defined her. For years, Sarah had measured achievement solely in numbers and profit margins, her heart steeled against the harsh realities of business. Now, as she listened to her father's gentle affirmation, she realized that true success was measured not in dollars, but in the lives she touched. Beside her, James stood silently, his presence a steady reminder of their shared journey through darkness into light. As Sarah squeezed his hand with gratitude and determination, she whispered, "Some profits cannot be measured in dollars. Our legacy is found in the hope we bring to others." In that profound moment, a new vision took shape, a legacy reborn from compassion and integrity. Her father's final gift was not a sum of money, but a timeless truth that would guide her every decision. With renewed purpose, Sarah vowed to honor his memory by building an empire that valued human life above all else. Their future would be defined by empathy, resilience, and the unwavering belief that every life improved was a treasure beyond measure. They said business was just numbers. This story proves the greatest profits come from following your heart and making courageous choices. Share if you believe in choosing right over easy.